Hey, good morning, family. We're going to review the last few days about proofs of forgiveness to check how we're all doing. Number one, we forget the past and how Joseph taught us how to do that. We set the offender free, and yesterday we talked about protecting them. Now, the flip side of the coin of yesterday is today's. And number four principle is we don't tell anyone. Not just a secret that they did, but we don't tell anybody what all the details were, nothing. Now, this adds on to where we were at yesterday. However, normal human responses are we want to tell people, and we usually want to do that for a few reasons. Number one, we want our pound of flesh or our revenge. Number two, we want to bring that person down to our size. Hey, who do you think you are, kind of a thing. Or number three, we want other people not to like them either. Hey, that guy's a dirty, rotten scoundrel. We don't want anyone to respect them. But notice how Joseph responds. In the account of Genesis, it says Joseph couldn't stand it any longer. There were many people in the room, and he said to all his attendants, "Out, all of you." So he was alone with his brothers when he told them who he was. This verse points out a couple principles. Number one, all reconciliation is to be private as possible. Joseph models it. Jesus instructs us. Matthew 18, verses 15 to the end of the chapter, Jesus talks and discusses how reconciliation is to be as private as possible. And Joseph again models it by kicking everybody out of the room and making sure no one else knew about this but Joseph and his brothers. Number two, all reconciliation has benefits for both the offender and the offended. What do I mean by that? Well, Joseph provided benefits for the offender, his brothers, by providing for them. He said, look, there's going to be a famine for another 5 years. I want you to come down to Egypt and enjoy the benefits of the land. Number two, I want to protect them. He didn't tell the Egyptians because the Egyptians loved and revered Joseph. And if they knew what his brothers did to him, my goodness, they would not like him at all. They would castigate them. They would reject them. But notice how the offended, Joseph, participates in the benefits. Number one, he gets to participate in the plan of God. It was God's plan to bring the Messiah through Jacob's family, the 12 sons. And Joseph knew that. And by providing and protecting for his brothers, he was participating in the plan of God, which leads to the other participation. He participated in the peace of God. Wow. Can you imagine letting all that go and not telling anybody? He was able to have peace with God, peace with his brothers, peace in his heart, and clarity in his mind to maintain leadership. Because as we know, when we hold on to bitterness, it skews our thinking and it affects all of our relationships, including with God. So there's two conditions when we do tell someone. Number one, when a crime has been committed, certainly we tell somebody, not for revenge, but for justice. And number two, a confidant, and preferably a confidant who does not know who the offender is, because that's important. So today we're learning how to get rid of bitterness by proof number four, which tells us the proof of forgiveness is when we choose not to tell anyone what the offender did. We'll talk soon. Take care and God bless.